I care for Britain as Britain cares for me. I care for Britain as the other constituent nations of the UK do. Except for me, Britain is not a platinum credit card giving access to an ATM machine connected to someone else's bottomless bank account. It is a voracious bloodsucker that is hell-bent on destroying my very being, my memory and a future for my descendants. Britain is the machinery that enabled bitter enemies to deprive, rob, abuse, deny my very existence and my worth. It is the vehicle of annihilation being used to wipe out my past, present and my future. Its primary use is to serve the interests of the minor countries of the UK and provide status for the midgets that inhabit Westminster. Some 15 years ago I became aware of what was happening. I perceived an anti-English creeping aggression that became more obvious by the day. It was war by increments waged by slowly advancing enemies wearing the mantle of friendship. Clandestine enemies are always dangerous enemies, and it was not until we became aware of their efforts that we began to see the truth of what they were up to. Now they have been so emboldened by the complacency and tolerance of the English that they don't even try to hide it. Despite us being the oldest settled people of Europe, with a rich history of achievement, these political maggots have wriggled their way into the carcass of Britain to deny us voice, choice or a national existence. The political establishment have used Britain to render us voiceless and virtually powerless. They have used it to secure the nationalist aspiration of their own people. They no longer even bother to hide their obvious contempt for the English people. In 1997, Labour gratefully took the reins of power from the brotherhood of the British political establishment, and the first thing they did was to isolate England to protect the remaining countries of the UK from the collateral damage that would inevitably occur as a result of the planned destruction of England. They did it by granting virtual independence and distancing Westminster from any decision making in Scotland and giving sufficient status to Wales and Northern Ireland to ensure protection from long-term damage. In effect, they took them out of Britain, leaving us English to wave the Union flag alone. Then as soon as Blair conspired his way into number 10, he scrapped the party rules requiring renomination of leader, thus ensuring his tenure for the duration of the plunder years. They also scrapped the laws relating to treason. Now if that was not self-interest, I do not know what is. These people explained the benefits of Britain to their own countrymen as the British dividend. Well, for the Scots, the British dividend has been 11 fat years of plenty. Hundreds of billions of pounds in direct grants, over 200,000 jobs created in Scotland. Nepotism by those ensconced in England has ensured lucrative jobs in the public service, media and institutions for their own like-minded compatriots. Massive capital projects have been carried out in Scotland. A vast amount of money has been spent on tourism improvement to ensure wealth creation. Huge research grants and investment into the education system to secure their future good fortunes. A national parliament combined with a very generous British government under the control of confirmed Scottish patriots. Shelter from the destructive policies imposed on England. The gift of 30% of English territorial fisheries, oil and gas reserves. Recognition as a nation and the opportunities for referenda on a future for self-determination, a voice in Europe, choice. For the Irish, hundreds of billions of pounds in reparations for their own terrorist activity. Direct grants under Barnett and £50 billion to form a government. The biggest per capita gain from the Barnett fiddle. £1.2 billion bribe to save Brown's neck on the 42-day detention vote, shielding from destructive policies imposed on England, an Irish Assembly to give voice to Irish interests, a voice in Europe, a promise of a future as a nation, opportunities for referenda on self-determination, membership of the Celtic Club with access to the British dividend, and again, choice. And for the Welsh, the gift of the English county of Monmouthshire. An assembly with increasing powers to ensure that the people of Wales are heard. Billions of pounds in direct grants, jobs, inward investment, capital projects. Membership of the Celtic Club with all its benefits. Recognition as a nation, a voice in Europe, the opportunities for referenda on future self-determination, and again, choice. And Britain's gift to the English. Well, first of all, the distinct honour of financing the Celtic Club. Near bankruptcy at the hands of the member for Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath. Denial of self-determination, massive targeted inward immigration, geographical fragmentation into regions ruled by unelected quangos, racial discrimination on a scale that dwarfs that supposedly directed at any other group, minimal social and health care, exportation of jobs, crime rates of epidemic proportions, rule and representation by leaders who have signed public oath to use England for the benefit of their own country, a Prime Minister elected in another country and not accountable to even one English voter, loss of the English county of Monmouthshire along with 400,000 English nationals and 500 square miles of English sovereign territory, loss of our farming, loss of our industry, loss of 30% of our sea resources, loss of national identity, the worst educational system in the developed world, loss of our borders and the right to control inward immigration. An electoral system that judges have declared to be so corrupt as to equate to third world banana republics. The inability to oppose the dictatorial European Union. Over 500 traitors ensconced as our representatives at Westminster, and no say in our own future, dependent on the will of foreigners both here and in Europe. These are the predations that historically can only be achieved by war and conquest, by invading armies. It matters not that we have generously supported them to a better standard of living than we enjoy for ourselves. It matters not that generations of Englishmen have accepted, nurtured and welcomed them to share our prosperity and brotherhood. All that is history. The only morals are exploitation and greed. You do not hear our fellow Scottish, Welsh and Irish Britons protesting at the way their English-British brethren are being treated. Instead, they are demanding more cash and greater freedom to decide how to spend it. They stand in satisfaction watching the discomfort of a nation. They watch with a glee that matured in their mother's milk and their own institutions. These people were never friends, and we have to recognise that in the modern Britain, constructed by the Westminster infiltrators, our neighbours here and on the continent are rivals. And you do not give your rivals the key to the storeroom.